I picked up a PlayStation 4 earlier this year, and one of the games that I felt I should purchase and play was Bloodborne. For those of you just getting into Bloodborne or just hearing about the game right now, allow me to give you a quick synopsis of it. Bloodborne is a video game created and directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki, famous for the Souls series. In Bloodborne, the player takes control of the hunter through the decrepit gothic city of Yharnam, whose inhabitants have been afflicted with an abnormal bloodborne disease. I don't want to spoil too much of the game, but if you're familiar with the Soul series, then Bloodborne will feel quite natural to you. Now, I've been playing Bloodborne and reading about the lore behind the game. Again, if you're familiar with Miyazaki's work, you can bet that the game's influenced by mythology or other stories. And sure enough, Bloodborne is. Miyazaki has said that Bloodborne was largely inspired by the Dracula and Lovecraft stories. But what struck me the most upon first playing the game is how much it seems to be influenced by Faust. Now consider the following, and come see Bloodborne through this lens with me in this week's Closer Look. What is Faust? You may be asking yourself. Faust is the protagonist of a classic German legend. There's been different versions of Faust throughout literature, but the premise behind the character is that he is a bored and depressed but successful scholar. Because of his dissatisfaction with his life, he makes a pact with the devil, exchanging his soul for unlimited knowledge and worldly pleasures. Seems a little familiar, no? Well, how about this parallel? In the continued tale, the devil sends his representative, Mephistopheles, to bargain with Faust. Mephisto will serve Faust with his magic powers for a set number of years, but at the end of the term, the devil will claim Faust's soul and Faust will eternally be damned. In Bloodborne, we could assume that the Blood Administrator could be Mephisto, representative of the devil, granting the hunter with powers. So in this sense, we can start to get a feel for the Faustian themes that we are being presented here. Now we could assume that the protagonist is Faust, but what if that's not exactly the case? Consider this. Our protagonist is the next potential Faust, because there was a Faust before him. Gehrman is the first Faust. In contrast with the play, Gehrman could have lost his loved one and attempted to bring her back in the form of doll. Instead of being saved by Gretchen pleading with God in the form of the Eternal Feminine in Goethe's rendition, Gehrman destroyed everyone in her and ended up in hell rather than heaven. Maybe pushing it a little, but consider the endings of Bloodborne. In the case that you submit, you will end up in heaven. Your other option is to kill Gehrman and assume his position as Faust in the world, which is granted to you by the Moon Presence, in much the same way that the devil binds Faust to hell. The final ending is also a unique one. If you kill Gehrman and the Moon Presence, you essentially defeat the devil at his own game and assume the office of the devil. So with the parallels in place where the protagonist submits himself to a presence for power, it's hard to deny the possibility that Bloodborne is a modern but classic retelling of Faust influenced by gothic horror and H.P. Lovecraft. Heck, even Lovecraft used the tale of Faust and books about Faust as inspiration. It is also plausible that Faust had some influence on the plot, but is not entirely based on it. Whatever the case may be, Bloodborne has a unique and very ambiguous storyline that may take some time to uncover. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please help us by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Your small but very appreciated contribution can help us develop better content on this channel. And feel free to leave a comment down below if you get the chance. This has been Closer Look, the Bloodborne Faust connection. Until next time, happy gaming.